It is day 6 of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and Western diplomacy continues apace today. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is in Warsaw as we speak for talks with his Polish counterpart. They've been holding a joint press conference. The UK Prime Minister makes the trip while insisting the Western alliance is working on more sanctions.
I've spoken almost every day to President Volodymyr Zelensky. And when I think of the dangers and the pressures, the physical dangers that he must be facing, I marvel at his coolness under fire, his bravery, his invincible good humor. I think he is mobilizing the world against the horror of what is happening. And as I said in Munich 10 days ago, Russia will not be able to subjugate the second largest country in Europe, encompassing nearly 250,000 square miles. Putin's war machine will not succeed in holding down Ukraine, even to hold down a part of that giant country. Our efforts have intensified to the point where the ruble collapsed, or virtually collapsed, yesterday, even though Russia's central bank doubled its interest rate. Now we will do more with our friends to exclude Russian banks from the SWIFT system, freeze their assets, and restrict trade. And we will go further in our efforts to sanction those who are close to the Putin regime. We're now taking further steps to whip aside the veil of anonymity and freeze their assets.
Well, Boris Johnson has called on allies to continue supplying weapons to Ukraine after the invasion by Russia. Johnson was joined on a call with other world leaders and representatives of the European Union and NATO. He welcomed the unity of message and action between countries in recent days in response to Russia's actions, and he stressed the need to continue applying pressure on Putin's government with sanctions and trade restrictions. Well, our correspondent Laura Makin-Isherwood is joining us now from London. And Laura, Boris Johnson in Poland right now, what's he been saying and where does he go next?
Well, he's been paying tribute to President Zelensky, his courage and leadership, saying essentially that he is getting Ukrainians behind him in force. We've also heard that around 100,000 people are now joining the Ukrainian forces as well to try to take on this attack by Russia. But this isn't the only stop for the Prime Minister today, Boris Johnson. He's heading on to Estonia as well. There he's going to meet with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, as well as meet with British troops who are already stationed in the country under NATO's enhanced forward presence. There have been troops from NATO allies positioned in the Baltics for the last few years. They're offering up a defensive force, always defensive there for the last few years. But of course, more troops are now being put on standby to head there as President Putin pushes through Ukraine towards those states that could be considered particularly vulnerable moving forward.
And what about refugees from Ukraine? The UK government's been under quite a lot of pressure on that issue. Home Secretary Priti Patel set out some plans yesterday, but criticism that they're not particularly clear yet.
Yeah, exactly. Priti Patel had said that close relatives of Ukrainian nationals living in the United Kingdom would be allowed to bring family members from Ukraine to join them here in the United Kingdom. But guidance that was put up after that announcement said that it would be quite a narrow selection of people, spouses, children under the age of 18 and maybe their parents. Now, that's come under fire, of course, from many people here in the UK, MPs as well, saying that it's not enough to help the hundreds of thousands of people that could be displaced, and particularly when the European Union have said that they will allow people to apply for access to the EU for up to 3 years. Well, we've now heard from a number of ministers that those plans might be being reconsidered, so it's possible that we could get a revised version of those in the next few days or weeks.
And the Ukrainian ambassador's been talking to British parliamentarians today. What have we learnt from him?
Well, he was basically describing the situation on the ground right now in Ukraine, saying that the Ukrainian forces are putting up a fight, that plenty of people have been offering to join the reserves and sort of the territorial regiments that are able. They say there's a problem at the moment arming those people that are volunteering to fight on behalf of Ukraine, but the ambassador said that that is purely logistical at the moment. They are getting a handle of it. But they understand and believe that President Putin will continue to push into Ukraine. He is targeting Kiev. He is targeting specific cities to try to break morale. He's also looking at infrastructure that's important for public survival, you know, access to food, also to water supplies as well. So while people on the ground are currently able to get their hands on food, they're obviously heading into areas where they can, that they deem safe, the likes of underground stations and other military bunkers that are in existence in Ukraine. Of course, they are worried about access to those supplies and are concerned that it could become an even worse humanitarian crisis moving forward. So they're asking for allies to support them, not only with military aid, but also with those humanitarian efforts as well with regards to food and water supplies.
OK, Laura, thank you.